The National Democratic Congress is 22 years, and 22 years in formation, 22 years in establishment, and 22 years in contributing significantly to Ghana's democracy. They've had nearly 2 terms in office, and as a result of that, they are also marking events just to celebrate the period of their formation. And, well, they have a manifesto, and in 2012 it says advancing the Better Ghana agenda and placing emphasis on job creation, political stability and development for all. We have in the studio the acting secretary for NDC Greater Accra, Anthony Nupenu. A very good morning to you, sir.
Morning.
Okay. More importantly, at 22, would you say that your party has been very significant to the country's democracy?
Thank you very much. My greetings to your cherished viewers. I'm the acting regional organizer. The NDC at 22 today, as members of the party will say, greatly we are very grateful to the Almighty God for keeping us together all these years, contributing our quota to the national development of this country. We have been successful to be the first party to start the fourth democratic governance of this country. Went to opposition for 8 years. Through hectic situations, we were able to mobilize and then win power in 2009. And I think for now we will say we are a very successful party. Despite the challenges we face as a party and as a government, we are making strides to make sure we give Ghanaians the better development and better advancement as we promise.
Well, that is critical. But as far as looking at the very objective for which your party is formed and your own contributions you've made to Ghana's political dispensation, or democratic dispensation over the last 2 decades, would you say that as far as the marching forward is, or the way forward is for the party, the projections are right for you to achieve the fundamentals of consolidating democracy in the country?
Yeah, Roland, as a party, it is our vision to make sure Ghanaians have the relief that they aspire for. Now, when a party assumes a government, there are a lot of challenges. You need to put your government in shape aside the party's structure, and that is the most of the time that is the challenge of the leader who becomes the president. How do you just oppose party members and then maybe bringing in outsiders to also form part of the government? These are some of the problems. But I believe whatever the government does or plans in doing, he must always make sure the party manifesto is looked at. And then whoever, whether you are an insider of the party or coming to support, you must also be looking at it. Thereby, there can be a better collaboration for the government to travel. So, as a party, we have always traveled on this path, and I think it has been successful. Despite the challenges we face as a government, especially in this coming back from 2009, the Ghanaian economy and its developmental status, what we've gone through. But that has not deterred us as a party to make sure we are always on the path of giving Ghanaians the better hope, the better government we've promised. So we have done a lot for this country, and 22 years and 14 years forming government, it is a remarkable achievement, and I think this is the time the party must sit, reflect, and see how best we put ourselves together and advance better vision for this country.
Now, we're having on the line Professor Amin Al Hassan. He's the Director for Development and with the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. A very good morning to you, Prof.
Good morning, Roland. I should add that I'm also a lecturer at the University for Development Studies. Yes.
Okay. So, sorry for
it's
omitting.
A pleasure to be on your program.
Sorry for omitting that very aspect of your career as well. And now, at 22, the NDC, particularly looking at its history of its formation, does that history count at all, especially coming from the offshoots of the PNDC era?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. I'm sorry.
Coming from the offshoots of the PNDC and being formed as the NDC because Ghana adopted a constitution and we entered into a fourth republic, has that influenced the party in any way over the course of the 14 years as they're marking since their establishment?
Well, if I understood your question clearly, I think that the NDC has done everything it can to shed itself away from the history of its origins. And I think that clearly it has largely succeeded in trying to establish itself as a successful, democratically structured party, as a very important institution in national governance. And I think there's no doubt about that. What we know very well is that we should always make a distinction, like the earlier speaker made it clear, that there's a distinction between the political party and the government that is formed when the party wins elections. And I think that what we have seen for the NDC is that it has successfully presented 3 presidential candidates who have been able to form government. And it is on this record that we can assess the success of the party as one of the most successful political parties, if not the most successful political party in the history of our fourth republic.
Now, in going forward, as far as we're concerned, do we think that as a society, the way we have our 2 main political parties, the NPP and NDC, and the way they're formed and the way they operate, that is the right way to go?
It is not. And actually, we have to trace the history of the formation of the NDC. For NDC to survive and grow as a formidable political institution, it had to kill CPP. Let us not forget that the first political party in Ghana's fourth Republican Constitution, the fourth Republican Constitution, was the NCP, National Convention Party. It was a shadow NDC party formed to bring together all the CPP elements, and then the NDC was launched. The first political rally to be held under this fourth Republican Constitution was held by the NCP at Kaneshie, and I remember I was there. And clearly, it was meant to bring all the floating CPP elements. Once they came under the umbrella of the NCP, then NDC was launched to bring them together. And this is what killed what should have been our third formidable political party. And it is not healthy for our democracy. We have now resolved and reduced to 2-party country, and it's not helpful. And the CPP or whatever third political force that will rise up will be it's a very necessary requirement for our own national development. Currently, it is a seesaw between NDP and NPP, and it's not helpful for this country.
Let's look at what the ideology of the party is. Every day we're told that they are a social democratic-led party, so to speak, if that is any ideology we have to go on with at all. In the current melee of the challenges that Africa has faced over the last 2 decades, can we strictly say parties always need to be rallying around ideologies, which usually they can't always stick to?
Every party needs a particular way of thinking, and that is what you can describe as ideology. Ideology is not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It's simply the framework under which that political party considers its policy options. The NDC has claimed to be a type of center-left democratic party, but clearly what we are seeing is that these days it doesn't mean much for any of our 2 political parties. If you look at our last election, the NPP sounded more liberal democratic, it sounded more social democratic. than the it sounded more social democratic than the NDC when it started talking about free SHS education for the country. And we saw how the NDC struggled to cover up. So clearly, strict ideological positions is not something that is now with our political parties. They are very flexible, and they are able to respond to developments within the country that will make them win parties. So my conclusion is that for our current political parties, both parties, including the NDC, it is how do we get power to win? That's the ideology. Whatever method we are going to use, if we have to be more right-wing than any other or left-wing, we will be to win party. And this is what we are seeing clearly, that political parties have stopped being strict and limited to particular stated political ideologies. Rather, winning power is the ideology of our current political party.
Okay, just stay on the line. Let me ask my guest. Mr. Nukonu, one thing that has confronted all political parties in Ghana is funding, especially when they are not in office or when they don't have political power. How have you managed that as a party over the last 22 years?
Well, it has always been, by the grace of God, every political party, whether in power or out of power, you see everybody trying to play its role by contributing its quota, be it kind, be it cash, whatever, to make sure the party fortunes are projected. And the last 8 years when we were in opposition, everybody that believes in the cause of the NDC did all it could to make sure you put in your penny, to make sure every activity is run. And throughout the 8 years, people were haunted. I remember I was a student, and we take student loan, organize political party on campus, invite our leaders to come and talk to people for a better government tomorrow. And we did all these things just because we believe in the NDC. Some in the civil service, in the public service, in whatever, will be contributing on the quiet side so that they will not be hunted by people in power. So it has not been easy, but then it's always good to believe in a cause and make sure you also have a hand in the establishment to put it on the pedestal that you believe in. So as our brothers are in opposition today, yes, everybody is putting his penny in. And you won't have the luxury contribution, but the little tokens will be put together to make sure you are always financially sound.
Now, Dr. Al-Hassan, we've had debates about how political parties survive over the period when they are not in office, and how they tend to behave in terms of structurally and the way they are also structured financially when they are in office. What's your own analysis and observation?
I think if you look into our 20-short-year history as a country, our political parties are yet to become well-established institutions financially. Parties do not have serious investment that are supposed to generate revenue for the party machinery. We rely on donations and contributions from party members, and this is a problem for our democracy because it also opens the door for corruption. If the party is in opposition and I finance it and we come to power, I have to recoup my investment at all costs. This is not helpful for us. But what we need for all political parties in this country, for parties to start thinking themselves as permanent institutions that must have investments that would feed into the running of the party, whether they are in government or they are in opposition. And this is what happens when anytime a particular party goes into opposition, most of its district and regional offices are shut down, the party grinds to a halt, and it's only when the election begins to heat up that you see these offices being opened and repainted and staffed. And that is because financially they do not have any foundation to stand on. And I think that it is in the interest of our democracy to see how parties can legitimately have economic investments that can feed the party machinery when they are in opposition or when they are in government. We remember very well that when NPP Chairman Haruna Iseku came out and blew the top of the secret about how the NPP was financed through kickbacks and all that, and he was shut off. We know it happens in every political party. We know it already. We only waited for him to come out and tell us what we knew already. What we need as a country is how political parties can have some investment that will generate revenue for them. Without this, we are going to continue having politics and corruption as being bedfellows in this country, and it's not helpful for us.
Well, Prof, every time we always say we learn from the bigger democracies, the democracies that have consolidated their dispensation for decades, if not centuries. Any benchmarks that we are learning from or we have to learn from?
So I think that if you take, for example, in Canada, I mean, where parties have permanent structures all year round, whether they're in opposition or they are in an election year or they are in government, I think that membership of the party is very crucial. That people who think that they are members of the party must believe they must be made to pay their dues, and they must really pay their dues. And that alone is a very formidable income if we have registered members whose dues are paid regularly. Number two, parties that all the strong parties have economic interest in various investments, legitimate economic interest. And this is the money that come into the party, that runs the party. And this is what they do. We need that in this country, that political parties have to learn from the developed democracies. And their institutions are well set up that if a government, if a political party is in power and it feeds off the national system through corruption, it will be exposed and it can destroy the party. So these are the issues that we need to learn from developed democracies, that the fact that party administration is a permanent feature of the democratic system that you run in a country. It's not a seasonal activity when it is time for election.
Well, as I go to you, Mr. Nukpenu, how crucial is it that you tend to have adequate structures of funding and funds also streaming into the party, whether you're in office or you're not in office? Because as it is, the parties become more liquid, or you have become more liquid because you're in office, but less liquid if you're out of office.
Well, as a party, when you form government, people are put in position of trust, be it MMDCs, ministers, on boards, on other institutions as CEOs. It is a duty of all these appointees to at least monthly remit some amount from their earnings to the party to make sure the structures are working. Aside that, the party has its own system of generating its revenue by paying of dues and other things. So all these things, when it comes, it will make it more liquid than when you are in opposition, when these remittances are a little bit scarce. So it's something that is formidable. Aside that, there are other avenues of looking at how well is the government situated, how well is are jobs being given in the system. All these people who are having this flair of gaining something as the government travels must also look up to the party in government and make sure they remit to make its structures working.
Well, Professor Alassane, that's a very interesting point the member of the NDC makes. Now, particularly when we've seen the phenomenon, Prof, of when we have teeming youth within a certain political party, perhaps getting a lot more enlistment in the security services, they're getting a lot more employment opportunities in the civil service or in other corporate institutions, only when the party is in power. Doesn't it create some level of acrimony when we have the next party also in power, wanting to create a lot more opportunities for its members, which are already not available? And so perhaps even leads to dismissals and some level of discrimination.
Yes, and even before I come to that, let me just comment on the previous contributor.
Yes.
If you expect people to be in office as DTEs and make remittances into the party structure, you are simply giving them the license to be corrupt, because he's going to draw from exactly what he has been asked to take care of, the national resources, straight into the party. And when you come to investigating for corruption, he'll tell you he donated it to the party, and you have to shut up and decide to carry it. It is very bad for our democracy. It's very disturbing that we should be running our democracy this way. Clearly, that is why corruption is always in our system. We need to understand that you cannot expect political appointees to make remittances just because they are in office. You are still asking them to be corrupt. Now, when we begin to do elections, we have all these promises from politicians that they will give their boys jobs, and when they come into office, they see these agencies like security agents as places where they will have to honor that. It's very disturbing. It's very disturbing because we need to insist on meritocracy. If you are going to recruit people in the security agencies, it must be based on merit. Whatever criteria for recruitment should be enforced, whether the fellow has NDC colors or MPC colors or MPP colors. If we do not do this, we are building up, we are setting up our country for a disaster. And I think that it is wrong, and we need to say clearly that for all political parties that win power or that have win power, do not expect to use political office to honor your promises of giving jobs to the boys. Put up the function of government is to enhance the productive capacity of the economy that will generate jobs for all citizens, not party members. And we should get that clear. It is bad for us to think that when you are in power, you use your office to generate jobs for your party members, because certain institutions are so sensitive that if you load it with your voice and the next government comes and they are going to share them off and also put in their voice, it creates certain types of tensions that are never helpful for our country.
Well, Prof, since 1992, we've had two parties in power, and this phenomenon is very synonymous with all these two political political parties that have been in power, so to speak. And so it's not as if it's peculiar to one. Now, this very phenomenon is worrying, as you said, but what could be the repercussions?
Well, Roland, look at it this way. You come to power, there's recruitment in the police service. Party A, you fill it out with your boys. Then military, you fill it up. Immigration, you fill it up.
Well, it's not only that. Sometimes we have also employment opportunities created either for nursing services or for the civil service, etc.
Yes. What you end up doing is that, what I was driving at is this. You fill these positions with people who are not qualified, to deliver on their job specification. Of course, it will not enhance national productivity. People are going to just occupy jobs, take salaries. Then our productivity level will come down.
So what
then we wake up one day and say that, hello?
So what do the parties do then?
Oh, the bottom line is that parties should find more sustainable ways of financing their structure.
In what way?
If you have to wait to get power, look, what parties need is, let me just put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
A party is an institution that can actually go into investment. That will bring it some dividends that it can say that every month we are expecting this amount of money from this our investment and this our investment and this our investment, and that's going to fuel and run the party structures, salaries and other things. So that we have certain party workers who are full-time workers and who draw salaries from the party.
Is that the practice in other democracies?
Yes, of course. They have full-time party workers who draw salaries from the party. And that is their job. He draws salaries from his party. And that is his job.
Right.
When you wake up and you go to work in the post office, he goes to work at the party headquarters of his political party. He draws salaries. We need to think about that. Otherwise, this is unsustainable and this is very negative. It doesn't help our development.
Now, as a party, in going forward, Mr. Nupenu, after, let's say, what's the plan for the NDC when you're 30 or even as you get to hit 40?
Yeah, thank you. I want to clear one point. If I made a statement as to remittances from appointees, it doesn't necessarily mean they go into the state coffers or money for development. You are on a job. You are being paid. That is your salary. So as
your contribution to the party.
Your contribution to the party for the party structures to be working, that doesn't come anywhere near whatever money the leader of that institution is using for development. So that is the point there. Now, as we travel on this journey towards 25, 30, 40, we as a party have to look at how we can institutionalize the NDC, where there are job creation avenue for the party itself aside government. That when you are not even in government, you can still manage these establishments to give more hope and job to your members. For now, we are talking about establishing a school, an ideological school, to train more people to believe in the ideals of the NDC. We are also looking at how to establish organizations to make sure we give jobs to people and run it as a business, because if is by only this means that the party can continue to stand firm. If we don't do this and we get out of power and we are looking at people to struggle and make sure the party stands, it becomes a very
Let me ask you a
situation.
question. Just like Professor Al-Hassan was saying earlier on, as you are a member of the party, now you're in government, you've seen people appointed in positions, and it happens in the MPP too, when they are in power, and they were in power under the Kufuor administration. There are people who had been given some level of state appointment. Another party comes, they are off those appointments. What is the strategy for political parties so that, well, as you tend to create employment opportunities by appointing people in public sector areas, when you are off power and those people are also taking off those office holderships, they get to have better employment opportunities to fend for themselves and then contribute immensely to the party?
I think as a country, whoever assumes power and put people in position, there are some positions that obviously whoever comes
Are
tomorrow
political.
you must exit that position for other people to
So
fill.
that's the mindset.
Yeah, that's how the structure is.
That's how the structure is.
CEOs, board chairmen, and others, ministers, MMDCs. Now, until we change the constitutional provision that give the mandate for this appointment, there is nothing that can be done there. But aside that, other directors and managers of institutions which fall prey to a political party coming to power to hand them out, that is a very difficult, because the Public Service Commission and the Civil Service Commission are institutions of governance that
Are independent.
independent and then employ people. So that is the angle that we should be looking at, which political parties, no matter who is sitting there, you come to power, you must be able to work with. And you also, as a manager or a director, leave your party coloration, work for government or work for Ghana, and that will make you safe in your job.
Well, Professor Lassan, that's a very interesting comment he makes, because, for example, under the Kufuor administration, I've had some acquaintances who are no more occupying their positions by virtue of the fact that they were appointed just because they are members of the MPP or perhaps they were members of their party, but occupying a public service position, a position that should go through the normal civil service structures we have of engagement, etc. And now another party comes, they are off. And I know people currently who know that, well, the positions they are occupying, they will not occupy again, supposing their party loses in 2016. Should that be the way we should be going as a country?
Definitely not. But what is also not so encouraging is the fact that anytime a government comes to power and does this type of mess, civil society institutions, the media, and other key aspects of it, like, for example, key civil society institutions like religious organizations, professional groups, all are quiet and silent about these developments. We do not speak out and up against it. We keep quiet. And we send a message to the government that it is right in doing that just because it has political power. And that is what I'm saying, that in this country, insofar as we expect to finance political parties through that type of contribution that my co-panelist is talking about, is the fact that we are encouraging the president, the new president, the sitting president, to always appoint people who will make proper contributions to the party to run it. But rather, when presidents come into office and they start interfering into certain governmental structures like the civil service and making certain changes, we expect civil society to come out and speak up and out against it and send a message to the government that, yes, you have power, but sorry, you are wrong. Stop it. Hopefully, it will become something that we'll learn to stop as a country.
When?
But if we keep quiet, as citizens of this country. And anytime a government is changed, certain key public officers are changed just because they are not party members. We are doing a disservice to our own selves, and we can't sit up and just blame the president for acting. Power in government resides in the people, and we have to speak out and remind the government that, please, you are wrong, don't do it again.
Okay, so now, how should we ensure that, well, the political parties that make sure our democratic dispensation is consolidated are well structured and operate on certain ethos or ethics that usually are the best practices around the world in the best developed democracies?
Well, this is something that we can discuss as a country. There's no any one-click formula for doing it. We need to discuss it and see. People have even suggested to the extent that one way of reducing this is to fund political parties. I don't think that's the way to go. But I think that there are various models that we can discuss as a country and come out to one particular agreement and a solution and pursue. But clearly, we should rule out the idea that you fund political parties through patronage of this type of nature, where you are appointed and you make a kickback, whether you are drawing from your salary or you are drawing. Look, if I'm a DCE and I am supposed to make a contribution to the party, and if you take away my salary and my salary will not be enough, definitely I'll dip my hands in the face of it to draw it, because I can do it quietly through other means and nobody will see. And that's exactly what we are saying, that it is corruption. It's wrong. And if we do not discourage this and find alternative methods of funding and financing political parties, we are going to live with this continuously and just start preaching against corruption. It won't work. We need to realize that this is about institutional capacity building for political parties as a country, and it's not just the duty of the political parties themselves, it is the duty of all of us as citizens to figure out how our political parties can be weaned off as parasites from state institutions.
Well, from what you said early on, we'll make sure you don't get any political position in Ghana. I mean, that's just on the lighter side, Professor.
Thank you. I am not looking for that. I'm happy at the
but okay, let's just look at our last round of questioning. Mr. Nupenu, I have to ask him first. Would you say that your NDC have been very successful? What would you say are the key milestones that you have achieved since 1992?
As a party, we've gone through storms. As Prof said, the formation is known to everybody, how it started, and the forebearers, those who steal the virtues of the party and put it down, ran the first 8 years, went to opposition, breakaways, and all those things. It has not been easy, but the majority of people believe that the NDC should be an institution that should stand. And all this while, we've been able to make sure, no matter what the storms are, no matter how the breakaways are, we're able to bring in more people to sit, dialogue, and move forward for this success we've chalked today. It has not been easy in the 8 years of opposition, where you have stalwarts like Obers taking away parts away, you have other misunderstandings. But in all, we were able to make sure we traveled through that storm and brought NDC back to power. Even the first 4 years of the late president, may he so rest in peace, it has not been easy, where you have the founder of the party taking positions against certain levels of the party, making it very difficult. But all these storms, we've overcome it today. 22 years, that is why I say it is time we reflect and see how to institutionalize the NDC and make it a political organization, a political movement devoid of one person's ideas, one person's power, so that whatever it is, the people of the party owns the party. And that is why today we are engaging ourselves in the biometric registration, where every member has his own contribution and full bold of the party. Not one person as founder, one person as mother, one person as general secretary, one person as national chairman. But right from the grassroots, right from that village, everybody owns the party and has its right to make sure the party stands tall.
Professor Alhassan, would you say that the NDC has been very successful at what they've been doing so far, and what have been some of their key milestones?
No, I think that clearly the NDC has been a successful party. We cannot dispute that. And what is important in the history of the NDC is the fact that it has successfully been able to go into opposition, survive opposition. 2, it has been able to change guards. And now that's very key. For example, we saw how Rawlings lost control of the party. Not that he lost control of the party, but that his overbearing power and influence over the party was reduced and put properly as a founding member, and the party continued. And we also saw a political party that was able to withstand internal disagreement. And that is very important for institution building, that people should be able to disagree within a party, and the party will survive. We've seen all that for the NDC. And I think these developments, we should be proud as a country. Not only NDC party members should be proud, but as a country, we should be proud that our political parties are able to withstand internal dissent, and they survive and they continue growing as institutions. And that is, for me, one of the big achievements of the NDC as a political party. And we should celebrate that as a country.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Amin Alhassan. You are also a lecturer with the University of Development Studies, but Director for Development, the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. And where is your organization based? Okay, you're based in...
We are trying to move to Accra.
Yes, you need to move to Accra.
well,
we have to decentralize, though. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you, sir. Anytime, I would always want to have you as my guest. Very interesting. Okay, and so what's the way forward now? You have any planned events to mark 22 years, 22?
Well, as a party, not much has been programmed. We have been on the quiet side.
Reflecting?
Reflecting. All party structures have been spoken to be on their guard to make sure you see how to restructure right from the branches. We don't see the political party as the national headquarters or as national. We see it from the grassroots, the branch that comes together to make the political party. So every constituency has its branches right out to the regions before the national comes. So at this 22, we are reflecting soberly all over the country to make sure the institution NDC is seen projecting the ideals. Our main focus now is the success of the government we have today. Based on that, 2016, we can come together, work assiduously, and maintain power. So for now, we are very much encouraged about what is going on, and we believe at the end of the day, the Ghanaian will come out and give a thumb up to the NDC as a formidable
How is the biometric registration of your membership going?
Very successful. Almost all regions are through. It's led with Greater Accra. In the next 2 weeks, we will be starting ours in the Greater Accra region. And I think it's a very successful project that we've embarked on. And we hope at the end of the day, it will give more encouragement to our members coming, owning the party now, where they have the mandate to elect every leader that takes office tomorrow, be it the president, be it members of parliament. Majority of the people who form part of the electoral college at the grassroots to be a decision maker before the generality of Ghanaians takes it there. So we are very encouraged of what is going on.
What's the timetable you have for your elections?
Yeah, elections, we starting the branch elections early part of July.
Would you have finished with the biometric registration?
We will do it alongside. Actually, it led with only Greater Accra to do branch elections. Almost all regions are finished. Formerly, they were about to annul all those things, but then we see inconveniences creating in there. So we are going to just affirm those regions that have done. Greater Accra, some constituencies, at least 2-3 constituencies have done, we'll affirm it and then finish the rest. And then as we do the biometric registration, we do the branch elections. Then in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll finish all constituency elections across the board. We run the regions concurrently. Then by October, the first week of November, we go for National Congress, amend the constitution, inserting the biometric project that we've done, then other constitutional provisions that we've looked at, we'll amend all, and then we can take it on board for the national election that will let the president, where the grassroots will now participate in that electoral college. So
well, thank you very much. Anthony Lupenya is the acting organizer of the NDC in the Greater Accra region. Thanks for joining us this morning. We've been discussing 22 years of the NDC and what the lessons have been, how also they need to restructure the party or perhaps move forward in their development and consolidation as a political party that is contributing to the political dispensation of Ghana. We're taking a break. You've been watching AM Talk on the AM Show. We'll be right back.